So, hello, it's always a delay when we start this. I'm just going to put a comment at the top there, and I'm hoping that you can hear me. Yes, you can, because I've got feedback, so that's great. Okay, so welcome to Monday Moments. Today, another live version, today being the 18th of March. Now, what may have got some of you confused, I don't expect a lot of you to be coming along because I completely forgot to put notification and warning on Facebook and YouTube and all of that. Hello, Janet. Hello. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. Thanks for dropping by. I completely forgot to sort of forewarn people really that we were going to do this one. And also, I just on YouTube, I guess that wherever YouTube is based, it must have changed. The clocks must have changed because it's an hour difference from GMT. So that threw me a little bit to start with. But anyway, I'm going to just talk through a couple of things to start with about what we want to talk through today, because one of the things that has been coming up quite a lot is would I come back and do some basics of dowsing, some of the real basics, because people find that it's very easy to get the rods moving, get a pendulum moving, get these responses, but then they kind of fall over and they get really wrapped up in it, and it can be quite frustrating for people. So we're going to touch on some of the basics again, go back to first stage, as it were. Hopefully that's going to help some of you. I'm hoping that Lina might turn up. Hello, Dan. Hi. Good to see you. Because I'd like Lina to be on air, but she can always watch the playback, of course. So dowsing is one thing, and the other thing that Catherine wanted us to touch on last time is a little bit about elementals. So we're going to talk a little bit about nature spirits and elementals. And for some reason, people think, I don't know why, but people think that I might have a lot of knowledge of this, and that's not really the case at all. Although my spirit guide is Merlin, and he always comes through, when he does come through, with an amazing feeling of nature and the natural world, which is what you'd expect. Hi Dixie, you must be 1 a.m. Yeah, good man. I thought it was going to be late over there. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. When Merlin comes through, he comes through with this incredible feeling of nature, and not only did he first come through with a feeling of gravitas and a very serious aspect to him, but also when I was kind of getting flashes of glimpses of what he looked like in my mind's eye, he was covered with little kind of animals and aspects of nature. So elementals are absolutely gorgeous aspects of nature to work with. And the thing is that you want to find your own level. You want to kind of explore it for yourself and see what you get when you communicate with them. And dowsing actually is a really great way to start to do that. So let's kick off and do some basics. We'll be here for about half an hour or so ish, okay? Unless you all walk away, in which case I'll just carry on my own. So look, the basic principle of dowsing, right, is that it is a subconscious process. Now, when I say it's a subconscious process, that doesn't mean that we're excluding spirit or spirit energy or all of that intuitive stuff that we like to, get excited about. It just simply means that all of that stuff is down one end of the scale. And then we kind of come through from all that subtle realm stuff at that end of the scale. We come through into our subconscious that we're kind of aware of, oh, okay, so that we know that this exists. And then we come through at this end of the scale towards the conscious mind. And when we make, and when we go further through that conscious mind, hi, good day to you. I can't pronounce your name, Lady Capera Ank. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So you come from the subtle realms through the subconscious into the conscious mind. And as we move further up the scale in the conscious mind, a way of processing stuff in our reality, we get into the very logical thinking. And this is where we get the scientific viewpoint of life, right? Now, I'm just giving some background here about dowsing and intuition and where it all sits with us, right? Because there is a balance here in this scale between incredibly intuitive ways of processing information that we get and very logical, analytical processing, objective. I mean, this up here, this end of the scale, we're dealing with completely objective information. So information that we all can share and agree upon, and things like, you know, we know that we're in this world. I know that some of us might question whether it's, you know, a sphere or flat, but let's not go there. But we know we're on this world, as far as I'm concerned, it's a sphere, a lump of rock hurtling through space. We can all agree on that. That's an objective, agreed. Hello, Steve. Hi. Nice to see you. Stevie. Sorry, Stevie. Brilliant. So we're all on this lump of rock hurtling through space, and that's kind of like an objective agreement, right? Now, as we, there's 8 of us now here, 9 of us, including myself. We are all in agreement that we are watching me trying to communicate some information via YouTube, right? That's all an objective fact. That's all up this end of the scale. We come wandering down here, and we go back through our subconscious and back through this sort of intuitive aspect. And when we get down this end of the scale, we're into our absolutely personal, individual, unique, subjective experience of being alive, being conscious, in all of those facets of what that actually means, right? So just to repeat, now this end of the scale, when I'm talking about over here, I'll sort of illustrate over here, because this is where dowsing starts to really operate, over here in this internal inner universe, the subjective world. But what we're asking about is often about objective things. But actually, one of the things that we learn, the more we dowse, and the more you get really heavily into dowsing and working with this intuitive aspect of self, of energy, is that actually the questions of what is objective are open to debate, because even the seemingly objective is processed through the inner world, through the subjective experience. So without wanting to say that this is, you know, is an irrelevance, is not to be believed, not to be real, because it is, right? It is. There is an objectiveness, right? It is real. But the subjective, the importance of the individual subjective information of your own unique attachment through to source, to the management, to all the information that can be accessed through from that source loving energy that some of us will call God, some of us will call the universe, some of us will call, I don't know, something else. So, and that's why this is really, really important and significant, is because it gives us that connection to our creator, because it's that connection that continues through the lives that we lead. Our uniqueness continues as we step through to the next world. We never lose that unique being, right? So, I mean, that is incredibly significant. I mean, do dive in if you disagree, or you know you want to ask a question at this stage. But this is why, you know, on my channel you'll see the information from Hamish about near-death experience, because near-death is oh, I see we've got a pause there, but near-death experiences are incredibly significant for the individual awareness of consciousness, right? Okay. So that's why I like to get that stuff on this channel. And another reason why I like to get that on this channel is because if we can understand that we are beings that continue from one life to the next, then it changes our perception of our problems, of our issues, of our circumstance of being human. Dixie, good question. Okay, so when I use a pendulum, Dixie's saying, would it be wrong to ask your subconscious to help you get the answers? Well, I wouldn't actually, Dixie, I wouldn't think about the subconscious as an entity that you want to be asking. Don't think of it as the subconscious, right? If you want to think of it as your higher self, okay. Yeah, I know you're a beginner. Hello, Nancy. Hi, good to see you here. I know you're a beginner, but what I would say, if I'm trying to think of a way for you, Digsy, to just actually communicate and to connect and to kind of allow yourself information to come through, right? Because one of the hardest things for dowsers and beginner dowsers in particular is to allow information to come through, because we'll come back. I'll give you a proper answer, Digsy, in a minute, right? A specific answer for you, and remind me if I don't, but I will. I aim to, but I just want to talk about this because when you pick up the rods, we'll talk about rods, same thing, pendulum. So you pick up the rods or pendulum. As a complete beginner, you expect that you're asking the rods. I'm using my fingers. I've got rods here, right? So you think that what you've got to focus on is the rods, and it's not, right? Kathy, hello there, Kathy. Hi. So you don't expect anything to happen with what you're holding in your hand. When you ask a dowsing question, you ask and you focus and you concentrate in your mind about what the question is you're asking. The greatest question and the easiest question to start with is something like, am I standing up? And you'll get a no response. Well, obviously I'm sitting down, so I'll get a no response. Do it when you're standing up. Stand up and you just ask a question that you know the answer to, because it's great to get an initial response. Now, when you first douse, you won't get your rods responding necessarily as quickly as that, right? They may just kind of, one of them may just do that, just gently move across like that. And if that's what happens, that's fine. Don't panic. Don't say, oh, I've seen Tim waggling these things around, they're going mad. Just allow it to gently move. And if you're right-handed, then usually it's the right hand one that will just gently move a little bit, right? So you might have a really tiny movement, but just look for any movement or be aware of any movement that you can get. Digsy, coming back to you. Should you think about your subconscious and ask your subconscious? No, I want you to think about, even if you believe in God or not, right? I want you to think that there's a part of you, just a nebulous part of you, that has information. Now, we're going to call it the higher self. And in spiritual circles, it's frequently referred to as the higher self. It's that part of us that seems to remain upstairs. And actually, Digsy, just say yes or no whether you actually believe in a God. I mean, without getting into detail, just yes or no, because I can take it from there. No, maybe you've fallen asleep. There's quite a time lag on the texting as well. But anyway, so if you believe in a God, then it's a heck of a lot easier. Or if you believe in an ultimate creator, it's a heck of a lot easier to believe and trust and have faith in this connection to upstairs. And that is your higher self. That's your connection that allows the information to come through to you. It doesn't mean to say that just because we're thinking about a higher self and an ultimate creator, not religious one. Okay, no, that's fine. But think of yourself. No, not. I mean, religion is a questionable label anyway. But okay, hang on. So the intuitive connection to upstairs is an intuitive connection to a greater intelligence, a greater being, an awareness of everything that's going on. That is part of the creative process. So Digsy, if you can go with that, then that's fine. But just think of that connection of going upstairs. Let me just answer Billy's craft room. Would you say, much like tarot or oracle, it's all in the question and how the question is phrased? Vague question makes it harder to interpret and answer. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. So, and in fact, last week's, I think it was last week's Monday Moments, I did explain how it's good to think of dowsing as a two-part process, because you ask a question, and part 2 is you get a response. There's no good just walking around the house, for example, with rods once you've learnt to dowse, or got a response from the rods, right? There's no point in just walking around and waiting for them to cross, because if you walk around your house or your flat or your apartment, they will periodically just cross. But if you haven't asked a question, you don't know why they're crossing, right? Dan, let me just read yours. You've been able to dowse since your early teens for water and electrical lines, but a bit afraid of going further. Yeah. Fearful. I think of negative energies. Yes, I believe in management. Okay, thanks. So, Dan, yeah, it's not uncommon to be reluctant to kind of open the door, if you like, to your spiritual self. And that's really what you're doing. When we start to communicate with, I don't want to go too far down talking about spirits and personalities at this stage, because I think there are other questions that want to come through, but I want to talk to you to answer this one. Basically, dowsing is the safest way of accessing any of this information, of this subtle realms energies, right? And we're going to talk about elementals soon, because that is part of the subtle realms. 2 things to be aware of. One, there is actually a psychic protection exercise on my channel, which is all about using the chakras and putting in place protection. Now, I would recommend that everybody, before they dowse, does that little chakra protection exercise, not necessarily because dowsing is dangerous or opens you up to detrimental energies, but because it's a good habit to get into. For, you know, so that in 6 months' time, if you're wandering through a sacred site, then you don't get kiboshed by something that's unpleasant. The other thing to say about all this detrimental stuff that's out there is that there's not much of it out there, and it's not predatory. Each individual person is affected by detrimental energies that are detrimental to them on their frequency. So it's not like, you know, you can have different people living in one house, and there's only one person that is affected by the subtle energies of that house being detrimental to them. And this is where it correlates to what we were talking about earlier on, about the individual inner universe, because this stuff is so subtle, it's in this individual subjective experience. So although I'm quite often keen to encourage people to explore this stuff, and to sometimes use, if they're unwell, to use traditional, normal, standard mainstream medicine. Obviously, normal, standard mainstream medicine isn't going to go anywhere near dowsing. They're not going to understand or even appreciate a lot of the subtle aspects of the environment that can affect people, right? So it's a balance on that side of things. Yes, exactly, Janet Rivera, right? So as you can see, yeah, you only ask for the higher vibration, white light is allowed, and then you trust the answers. Yep, that's great. That's a perfect thing to do as well. The white light is entirely appropriate, and if you're happy with that, that's great. The chakra protection exercise is like a belt and braces. I think I used to do the white light bubble when I started, and admittedly, I'm probably going into some darker areas than most of you guys will be, because I'm going into some fairly dodgy territory when I'm doing the house healing work, which you guys won't be going into. So whatever you feel comfortable with. And one aspect of the detrimental energy that you may get is basically headaches. So if you find yourself doing dowsing, and after doing the dowsing you're getting headaches, or you're feeling a little bit nauseous, then just be aware that you might want to up the psychic protection, right? And so the chakra protection exercise is a good one. But if you're happy with the white light, absolutely brilliant. And really, in all of this work, you do want to be doing all of it for the greatest good, for the highest of the high. Always setting your intention for the best possible outcome, for the greatest good, right? Because there's the potential to use one's own human energy in the subtle spheres of our the extremes of our energy out here, right? We can use it for selfish means, and a lot of people that are maybe really quite low and depressed can access these energies anyways, because this is just part of being human. And when you're low and depressed and on the lower vibration, they tend to be more self-centered, selfish, if you like. Whereas really the best possible energies and the most effective energies and the most healthy and beneficial way of working with this energy is to be always setting your intention for the greatest good, for the highest of the high, going for the most beneficial energy that you possibly can. And that's what you're doing when you're as a novice dowser. You're setting your intention, you're going up to source, you're drawing on your energy of your connection through your higher self. Right now, I need to be hi Liv, hi, good to see you from Norway. We're being a little bit kind of wavering between dowsing and sort of spiritual work here. And part of the reason for that is, I think, because I use dowsing in a spiritual working way, right? So I'm working with spiritual type energy. Not every person that picks up dowsing rods or a pendulum is going to be working with that kind of spiritual sort of aspect. A lot of dowsers are people like engineers, and they literally just want a yes or no. And they are more up this end of the scale, that we were talking about earlier on, about the logical scientific thinking, whereas a lot of spirit work is down this end. So they can use dowsing for a very solid yes, no, response. Good. Okay, thanks, Billy's Craftsman. There's a good plug there for, yeah, and Reiki is a really good thing as well. Yeah. So there's a book by Christine Northrup. I think I've heard of that one. So, yep, go find that on Amazon. Okay, so specific question about dowsing, something basic. Anybody want to ask something basic? I'm feeling like I'm doing a fair amount of waffling here, but I'm trying not to. Anybody use dowsing for healing, for example, for yourself or for others? It's gone very quiet. That's okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, okay, Dixie. So you want to long to use the pendulum for geopathic stress problems in the house, yeah. And Billy's Classroom, an empath's guide. All right, okay. So the book, yeah. Okay, Valerie, right. You'd like to use it for healing, okay. And Janet, you use it already for healing. Excellent, thank you. Yeah, that's all right, Billy. No, it's Billy's Craftsman. That's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I don't mind. I don't mind plugging other people's work at all. I really don't. How do I do negative people energy? Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm getting lost in my own thing here. I'd love to know more about healing dowsing. Yeah. Well, let's go. I mean, fundamentally, I'm using the dowsing in the house healing capacity, right? Now, in that, we get into all sorts of areas of healing, and working with the healing energy, as you guys do, right? And really, I think the biggest thing, I'm going to go back to Dixie here, because Dixie and Dan both wanting to use the dowsing for healing, and Dixie is about the geopathic stress, the healing of geopathic stress, because I know Dixie wants to work on this himself, because he's got some very specific things that he wants to achieve. Now, the first thing is dowsing is not difficult, but you do have to relax and allow the process to work. It's actually complicated if you start to overthink it. And overthinking is really when we click in the logical mind. And you know, the best thing is to actually think about it as a bit of a game to start with. If you're really starting from scratch, and really this was supposed to be about basic dowsing. So if you're really starting from scratch, then play with dowsing to start with. Now, obviously, if you're using it if you want to use it for healing other people, you need to be aware that you've got to practice and be as confident as you possibly can before you even start to douse for other people's issues, right? It's not so bad for yourself because you know if you've got a duff answer, right? But I'm just saying, just be careful when you're dowsing. I know that a lot of you are experienced healers and things like that, and that's great. So this doesn't apply to you. But for the beginners, you know, one of the things that's always surprised me is that as soon as people get a response from the rods, they'll go off, you know, at a show or something. Hello, Carol. Hi, you made it. At a show or something like that, if I'm teaching people to douse on an exhibition stand, for example, right? They'll stand there, they'll get the rods moving and go, oh, great, this is brilliant. And then the first thing they'll ask is, okay, should I leave my job? And the rods go, yes. And it's like, no, don't ask those questions. Like the first thing, or shall I leave my boyfriend? Shall I leave my girlfriend? And, you know, get a response. And so people jump in feet first into these really big life-changing questions. Now, whether half the people are, you know, follow them through or not, I don't know. But as a novice, you don't ask, you know, you don't, not to seriously act upon these big questions, because you've got to build up a certain degree of confidence in the process and in the way that you react, and in the way that the management, that your higher self, if we look at it from that point of view, that your higher self is going to teach you. Hi, Marie. Hello, Maria. I haven't seen you for a long time. Lina, hi, you made it. Okay. Yeah, you don't just jump in feet first and start asking the really big questions, because going back to looking at dowsing from a spiritual point of view, it's a learning opportunity. You're connecting to the management, to your higher self, and you are being taken on a journey by the management. They know exactly what's going on, and they will take you on that journey. And it's nothing to feel like it's a religious or a massively amazing spiritual experience. It's just the nature of reality. You know, we are connected to the management all the time, but a lot of us just ignore that connection. It's only when we start to accept the connection, and dowsing is an ideal way to do that, that we actually label it spiritual, you know? So, Dixie, sorry, mate. Great results from your dad's dowsing mentor, healing people's health, right? Yeah, good. Ellen, hey, good. Okay, thank you. So, one step at a time. It's always one step at a time. You know, if you learn to drive, as soon as you pull away in a car, you know, you don't go hurtling off onto a freeway, onto a highway, you know, onto a motorway. You're asking for trouble. So one step at a time, one step at a time. There's a really good book, which actually I would recommend, which is not one of mine. It's The Wee Book of Dowsing by Hamish Miller. And The Wee Book of Dowsing, which you can pick up on Amazon, it's only about £5. Hamish in that book takes you through the basic dowsing process. And of course, he emphasizes practice, practice, practice. But he also does it with humor, and there's some lovely illustrations in that book as well. It's a really lovely book to get, even if you're an experienced dowser. It's just lovely to pick up. So The Wee Book of Dowsing, I'll put a link in afterwards in the comments section to the UK Amazon site. Okay, so Lina, we were talking a little bit about dowsing before you came on, and I do want to touch on, I don't know whether Catherine's here, but I do want to touch on the elementals. Lina, have you got any specific question that you wanted to ask? I know what I was going to do for you. I know we were going to talk about blind dowsing, right? Because one of the things is that when you start to learn, when you start to learn dowsing, you can get frustrated by it, and you can find yourself in this place where it sort of just doesn't seem to be working for you anymore, or you don't want to influence it. You become aware that your conscious mind is influencing the result, because that's a very, very easy thing to do. As it very often happens, is that you get sidetracked by the conscious mind coming in. You think you either get an answer that you want, or you think you know the answer already, and that's what comes up, right? And that can be quite dispiriting. Okay, yeah. Right. So blind dowsing is where you get a bit of paper and you just cut it into two identical shapes. On one, you write Y, yes, in other words. So a Y for yes, write yes if you want. And the other one, you write no. So an N, no. So, sorry, it's interesting reading the comments at the same time. So you've got one little bit of paper that says yes, one little bit of paper that says no. Turn them over, mix them up on the desk or wherever you're doing the dowsing, so that you don't know which is which. And then what you do is you ask the question. Let's just use a silly example. Let's say, is it right for me? Is it appropriate that I go out in the rain? Now, you're about to go out and you go out in the rain, and you've got your two bits of paper in front of you. And if you're using rods or a pendulum, it doesn't matter, because you basically say, you've got one on the left, one on the right. You basically say, so is it appropriate that I go out in the rain now? And you say, is the answer on the paper on the left? And you get a response. Or is the answer on the paper on the right? And you get a response. Now, in that way, you have no idea. Your conscious mind can't influence it, because you've got no idea which is which. Instead of a conscious mind clicking in and kind of going, oh yeah, well, yes, the answer is yes, right? So does that make sense? Blind dowsing, basically two little bits of paper, one with yes, one with no. Turn them over, mix them up so you have no idea which is which, separate them out a bit, and then, hi, garden plants, hello. Excellent. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So one's yes, one's no. Separate them out so you've got a left and a right, and then just ask the pendulum or the rods which is which, right? Is it for the appropriate answer? Does that? Okay, good. That makes sense. So Dixie's got that as an understanding. Okay, so hopefully, Lina, does that make sense? Just stick your little yes in there. It takes about a minute to come through on this read out. And really, that is a way that you can actually build up your confidence by, okay, try that. So it's a way of building your confidence when you're learning, because you are separating out your conscious mind if that becomes a problem. The other thing is, and in fact, somebody mentioned this on the comments during the week, why don't we ask the same question twice? I can't remember whether I answered this last week or not. It's a very common thing that people do. They just go, oh no, I know that's the wrong answer. I'm going to ask the same question again because I don't think I'm sure about that. Just stick with the first response you get, even if it's just a blank. Go away, come back and douse it in a little while. Don't ask the same question twice. It's okay to ask the same question, another time, like an hour later. But don't ask it like, okay, shall I go out in the rain? No. Shall I go out in the rain? Yes. Because that's what's going to happen. You're going to get the opposite. You're always going to get the opposite response. Okay. So garden plants. You've got a jade pendulum and you're trying to work with it. What I would say, jade, lovely thing to have. If you haven't cleared it, clear it before you start to use it, right? And to do that, just hold it You don't need to do anything special apart from just ask the highest of the high to clear the pendulum for you of all detrimental energy. And as it's jade, as it's a crystal, just open your heart to it and thank it for coming to you. So you start to establish that connection to your pendulum, right? And so clear it. They do say with a crystal pendulum like that, always check your yes and no before you start each dowsing session. So that's something that's worthwhile doing, right? Checking it. I have to say that I don't very often check my own when I'm doing it, but then I suppose I've been doing it long enough to kind of know the feeling, I guess. And that's the other thing about dowsing. I can see that we're not going to get onto elementals. That's the other thing about dowsing, is it's not necessarily about okay, so it's not necessarily about the external thing. It's about the process of going inside, right? So Digsy, you were asking twice, right? So you were asking twice and getting the opposite result. So don't ask twice. But also, when you do ask, right, really important again, to allow yourself time to recognize dowsing as a sacred act, right? We'll use the word sacred. Give it respect. So don't just plow in and pick up the rods or pick up a pendulum and get going, because you'll still be in that kind of monkey chatter state of mind. And it's really, really important to allow your mind to settle. So Dixie, I think you do meditation. And this is the reason that meditation is important, because the more you meditate, more any of us meditate when we're trying to do dowsing as well, right? Then the quicker we actually drop into a meditative state of mind when we're ready to douse, and that's that state of mind that we need to be in to actually douse effectively. Because otherwise the dowsing becomes actually more like, I mean, bizarrely, it becomes more like guessing, which is just not what you want at all. And as soon as you get a response, Digsy, as soon as you get, meditate first, mate. Yeah, meditate first and just try to allow yourself to settle into that headspace. But as soon as you get that response that says, oh, and puts you in that frustrated energy, you've lost your meditative connection and your dowsing connection. You just got to, which again is another reason for saying don't ask the same question twice. Yes, good. Well done, Carol. Okay, so meditation utmost importance for you too. It is about getting into that different mind space. And there is a video, it's an old video that I've put on the channel that's talking specifically about that, about the fact that they with the advanced sort of electrode stuff that they can do with brain patterns these days just on a simple laptop, they've proved that the mind it drops into a different set of rhythms for meditation, and that's the healing state, that's the meditative state, that's the dowsing state, that's our connection to the subtle realms. It's in that state of mind. Digsy, let us know either next week or drop or put a comment on beneath the show how you get on, right? Because we'll get you working. There's no doubt about it. Everybody can do this. So you need to be aware of the meditative state, okay, and pay it respect and pay it, give it its time that it needs. And it is, whether you believe it or not, it is a connection to your higher self. Right. So 4:05. Now, really, I need to be drawing this to a close, guys. So as a newbie to the channel, is this a regular slot? What time is it on, please? I'm hoping to get this as a regular live thing. I've only done this twice as an actual live with a quick Q&A thing. Even this time I forgot to publicize it, which is I'm just terrible at this publishing stuff. So answer your question. Monday Moments it's called, so it's going to be held on a Monday. I will put a thing on the community tab that says when the next one's going to be. It's either going to be around this time, which is 3:30 p.m. UK time, or I might do it earlier at like 11 a.m. on a Monday, because that allows some others in other countries to kind of get on board as well. But the more I get used to this, then, you know, because this is only the second time, like I say, then the more we'll cover. And it's not always about dowsing, obviously, because you've seen from the channel that we cover a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, Maria, yeah, I haven't. No, you see, the thing is, yeah, cheers, Diggsy, bye. So, Maria, keep in tune with the channel, Maria, okay? I know you love elementals, and we had great success when you were here on that workshop, so bless you for that. Thank you for dropping in. I'm not going to have time to go on to elementals now. The Dowsing Basics is too big. I don't know how many of you joined for the elementals. So see you next time, Maria, perhaps. Yes, they are very fluid beasts. Yeah. Lina, is it okay to ask a question blindly that we already know the answer? Just to make sure. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, Lina, using the blind dowsing, is it okay to ask a question that we already know the answer to? Now, yes, it is, because you're learning. But the thing I really want you to take away, Lina, because I know you're getting really frustrated, and I know also that it doesn't help when you've got a partner who actually doesn't necessarily believe in any of this stuff. If they're slightly more cynical, then it doesn't help you, right? So don't go into the dowsing, the blind dowsing, with the attitude, okay, Stevie, thanks, with the attitude of, I'm going to test this, right? Because upstairs doesn't appreciate being tested, and because they look at it as being, you don't need to test, you just need to trust. We, however, down here are like, oh, but we don't know if it's working or not. You know, it's really frustrating for us, but they're like, just trust. So try not to look at it as a logical testing exercise. Do everything you can. Try to get in the mind state. Try to relax. Allow yourself time. I believe you've got little ones, little children. Try to do it when they're not around, perhaps, so that you can really focus. Just allow yourself the space to actually explore it. But have fun with it. Don't be too serious. Yeah, okay, Maria, thanks. Bye-bye. Oh, sorry, Carol. I'm sorry. Okay, good, Kathy. Again, let us know how you get on with the pendulum stuff. Ellen, rods. Okay, so you can get them from, if you're in the UK, from the British Society of Dowsers, or if you're in the USA, you can get them from the American Society of Dowsers. Those are probably the best two websites to go and look at. Just Google either of those, American Society of Dowsers or the British Society of Dowsers. Yeah, thanks, Billy's Crafter. Good, well done. Thanks for sending that across to Lina. Yeah, good point. Okay, Diggsy, are you actually on my mailing list? Anyway, oh, you're in Ireland, Ellen. Okay, that's fine. British Society of Dowsers. If anybody's not on my mailing list, go to my website and just sign in the thing so you get informed, and I'll try and send out a reminder. I'm again meant to put it on the last email that went out last week, blog post that went out last week, but I forgot. So where were we? So Ellen, yeah, British Society of Dowsers. Contact them, find them on Google, give them a phone call if you like. They've got, you know, they're really friendly. They've got a selection of different rods. Some of them are a lot lighter than others. Or just make yourself, to start with, make yourself out of the old wire coat hangers. Just cut a little bit up, make an L rod, and just try it out. They'll be really, really light, and that'll tell you whether you're actually comfortable with lightweight ones or not. One more question: what should I ask in order to test my bedroom for geopathic stress? Okay, Lina. Right, hang on. I'll come back to you. Will do. See you, mate. Yeah. Cheers, Dixie. Kathy. Okay, so if you go to my website, Kathy, www.knightsrose.com, www.knightsrose.com, KNIGHTSROSE.com. I think that on my homepage there is still a PDF that you can download. It's not going to be there for long, and I am upgrading that website. I've been saying I've been doing that for a long time, but I will be updating that. It has a list of 47 questions, Kathy, and you can have a look at that. And if you feel confident enough, you can use that as a template and go through and ask the questions yourself. Now, if that overwhelms you, just let me know. You can email me, use the contact form of my website, and just let me know, right? Another way is that you can buy a mini report, and we can talk about the process when we go through that on email. Those are now £68 because it takes about 3 hours of my time. So you can do that. If you're suffering badly, Kathy, drop me a line, right? Because if you're suffering badly from geopathic stress, then you might want to try and get a solution to it quicker than perhaps you might be able to do it. But let me know. Have a look at the website. It's a pretty basic website at the moment. And ask the questions anyway, okay? I'm quite happy to answer questions. I don't charge everybody that emails me, right? A lot of you will know that. Okay, so where are we? Okay, Alan, thanks, take care. Alan, hi. Yes, okay, so you're after asking for the greatest energy area. I do feel different when I step into that area. Yeah, okay, so if you're doing what we've been suggesting, okay, garden plants, I'll come back to that in a minute. Alan, right, so you just started dowsing and the rods cross in one part of the house. They should only cross in one part of the house, Alan. So it sounds to me like you've got the hang of that. You're basically asking for the greatest, most positive power center, earth energy power center in your house. They'll cross at one point. That's the best one. Usually it's in the living room or the kitchen. Might not be for you, of course, but if you work from home, sometimes it's in the office. What are the symptoms of geopathic stress? Geopathic stress is a whole collection of symptoms, really, that if you went along to your GP, they would probably just give you some waffle. It's feelings of lethargy, feelings of sometimes feeling quite sick. Highly sensitive people, if you know that you're a highly sensitive person in that definition sense of the word, where you get really affected by other people's energy, if you go out into crowds and stuff, quite often highly sensitive people are most susceptible to the influences of the environment in which they live. It can be all sorts of different things. You can feel just like a brain fog, so like you just can't focus, you can't concentrate, and it clears when you leave the house. This is the key thing, is that if you feel rough when you're in the house and you go away for a couple of days and you feel a lot better, then you know there's something wrong with the house, right? It's something to do with the energies of the house. But geopathic stress generally is, usually if you Google it, then you'll see that people talk about the mixture of water and earth energy lines and this sort of thing. There's all sorts of things. As I say, the full report that we do as a house healer, it's got 47 section headings of possible influences. So anything from electromagnetic stress to the underground water to deliberate bad vibes being sent, curses, this sort of thing. So I'll do some more. I'll do a little video about geopathic stress and highlight some of the aspects that are in the report so that you get more of an understanding of what it is. That's a good question. Right, I'm good. Yeah, thanks, Carol. Sorry you missed that one. I will just write elementals and we'll cover that next time. Yeah, you can feel like that, Billy's Craft Room. You can feel it like car sickness. There's no doubt. Valerie, it should be on the homepage of knightsrose.com, the PDF. It'll just be a little link. I think it's still there. I'll check afterwards. If you can't see it, I'll put a link in the comments section below. Just make a note, because otherwise I'm going to forget. I'm going to have to go. We're going to have to call this to a close. Okay, yeah, good. Thanks, garden plants. Right, so thank you so much for being there. I really do hope that has been of some help. Those of you that do any public speaking at all will know that actually when you're doing it, it feels like it just yes, your pendulum would recognize it. Well, it won't recognize if you say, is there geopathic stress here, then you'll get a yes or a no, garden plants, but it won't kind of give you information about it unless you're asking the specific questions. So if you ask a specific question, you get a specific answer. That's the key to dowsing. Don't forget, two-part process. Yes, Kathy, do write a little list and drop me a line, and we can talk about it on the email. Absolutely fine if you've got trouble there. Not a problem at all. Even if you haven't got that much trouble, whatever. Don't feel that you're kind of being testing. Okay, right. I'm going to have to give this I'm going to have to call time out now, as they say. So look, thank you very, very much indeed. You're all lovely. I don't know why I'm saying that, but thank you. Bless you for being there. And we'll speak again soon. Okay. Right. So I'm going to go to Google Hangouts and sign out now. Take care. Bye-bye.